Admiration, profound sorrow, and deep reflection are the emotions that washed over me after researching and learning about more than 100 Black public figures connected to the silent battles for survival and the harsh devastation of incurable diseases. Hello everyone, we are our Memory Vault, and this is the video 27 Black celebrities who died from incurable diseases. This deeply impacts how we appreciate the priceless value of health. The extraordinary human resilience in the face of adversity, as well as the fragility of human life, and it might just leave you stunned. This video is perfect to play while you are resting, enjoying a meal with your family, or doing chores around the house. All the information in this video has been carefully researched and gathered from multiple sources. If there are any oversights, please leave a comment below to help our channel continue to grow. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and ring the notification bell to receive updates on our latest videos. Now let us step right into the stories of our first figures. Heavy D. To open this deeply reflective list, let us look back at the sudden passing of Dwight Arrington Myers, the 90s rap icon known by his stage name, Heavy D. Once calling himself the overweight lover, Heavy D had a large physique but possessed incredibly smooth, light dance moves and an overwhelmingly generous, life-loving personality. His music was a stress-relieving remedy, always spreading optimism and faith in the good things. For someone with such an abundance of positive energy, no one could have imagined that his life would be abruptly taken away on a winter morning in 2011. Analyzed through the lens of preventive medicine, Heavy D's passing at the age of 44 is a terrifying wake-up call for all of us. After a long flight back to the U.S., he collapsed right in front of his home. An autopsy revealed the cause to be a pulmonary embolism stemming from deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot that formed in his leg due to sitting on a plane for too long, which then traveled up and blocked the flow of oxygen to his lungs. I assess that the terrifying part of this tragedy is that it came with absolutely no clear warning signs. It proves a harsh reality. A body, no matter how full of vitality, and a soul, no matter how immersed in happiness, can have its life taken in a fraction of a second by the most silent of medical emergencies. For our mature audience, Heavy D's story is not just a mourning for a musical talent. It is a costly lesson about the impermanence of human life. It reminds us to always listen to the smallest warning signs of our bodies, to cherish every present moment, and to never be subjective about our health. That life-loving giant is gone forever. But the final message he left on social media, "Be inspired," will forever be a guiding lighthouse, advising us to live meaningfully and fully in every breath we are given. Stuart Scott. In the realm of American sports broadcasting, rarely has anyone left such a profound mark and completely shifted the culture of broadcasting as strongly as Stuart Scott. With his highly energetic hosting style, modern vocabulary steeped in hip-hop culture, and his classic catchphrase, "Booyah," Stuart was the soul of ESPN for over 2 decades. He brought joy, sharpness, and positive energy to millions of television viewers every day. Yet behind that brilliant camera lens, this talented host had to endure a grueling 7-year battle for his life against one of the rarest and most unpredictable forms of cancer, appendiceal cancer. Let us analyze Stuart Scott's proud philosophy of life when facing death. Many people, upon receiving a cancer diagnosis, would fall into despair, abandon their work, and await the arrangement of fate. But Stuart chose a completely different path. Amidst chemotherapy sessions that devastated his body to the point of exhaustion, he still managed to go to the MMA gym, still appeared radiantly on national television, and fulfilled his duties as a father to his 2 young daughters. I believe that his greatest triumph did not lie in trying to prolong his life, but in his refusal to let the disease define his life. For viewers who have witnessed loved ones battling severe illness, Stuart Scott's ESPY Award acceptance speech right before his passing in 2015 has become a Bible of resilience. He said, "You beat cancer by how you live, why you live, and in the manner in which you live." Those words shook millions of hearts, shattering the stereotype of defeat in the face of death. Stuart Scott bid farewell to this world at the age of 49, But his philosophy continues to light up hope, teaching us how to live a complete, proud, and brilliant life, no matter how short our time may be. The resilience of Stuart Scott is truly admirable, but ahead lie even harsher hidden corners where legends fell forever, right at the peak of their fame. Do not look away. The most shocking truths are still waiting for you. Seal, the male vocalist possessing a distinctively raspy and deeply haunting voice, conquered the globe with the immortal love song, Kiss from a Rose. His music carries a philosophical depth, echoing a touch of sorrow, yet being incredibly magnificent. But what makes the public most curious and impressed from the very first glance are the large symmetrical scars appearing on his face. For years, the tabloid media wove countless baseless legends about these scars. The truth is, they are the consequence of discoid lupus erythematosus, an autoimmune disease that directly attacks the skin which he contracted when he was just a teenager. Through the lens of analyzing beauty standards and human self-esteem, Seal's story is an epic saga of overcoming adversity. In a society where physical appearance is often used as the primary metric to judge a person, for a young man to bear large scars on his face and experience patchy hair loss is a devastating psychological blow. I believe that Seal's greatness lies in the fact that he never tried to use plastic surgery to hide that truth. Instead of letting insecurity imprison his soul, he transformed all those traumas and the curious stares of the public into explosive energy in his music. For mature audiences who understand that outward beauty will eventually fade with time, Seal's image commands absolute respect. He turned the very disease that once caused him pain into a unique signature, a symbol of survival. Seal proved to the world that physical flaws can never overshadow the brilliant light of innate talent. When he sings, the scars on his face are no longer marks of illness. They become the medals of honor of a warrior who overcame the darkest days to reach the stars. Toni Braxton. Toni Braxton is one of the greatest vocalists in global music, the owner of numerous Grammy Awards with a rare deep sobbing and elegant voice. Her mega hit, Unbreak My Heart, became the anthem for broken hearts. On stage, Toni appeared as a gorgeous, powerful, and unshakable goddess. But few know that the woman who specialized in singing about healing shattered hearts was struggling to keep her own heart and body beating. She was diagnosed with systemic lupus erythematosus, a highly dangerous autoimmune disease where the body's defense system turns to attack its own most vital internal organs, such as the heart and kidneys. Let us analyze the terrifying pressure of having to maintain an empire when its foundation is shaking. For a star with a packed performance schedule, like Toni especially, back-to-back shows in Las Vegas, having her body suddenly shut down with extreme fatigue and an erratic heartbeat was a fatal barrier. I assess that the harshness of lupus lies not only in the physical pain, but also in its unpredictability. You might look radiant in the morning only to be rushed to the emergency room by the evening. Having to cancel a series of shows, facing media misunderstandings, and severe financial crises pushed Toni Braxton to the brink of despair. However, for viewers who always cherish the fierce vitality of women, Toni Braxton is an absolute model of resilience. Despite having to step through the doors of death multiple times, she proudly stood up, adjusted her pace of life, and continued to raise her voice. She refused to play the role of a weak victim. Toni used her own story to light up hope for millions of lupus patients worldwide. The Queen of R&B proved a profound philosophy. A woman's greatest charm does not lie in a flawless body, but in the courage to walk through the storm, turning her wounds into the proudest musical notes of her life. Reggie White. Reggie White was one of the greatest defensive players in the history of the National Football League. NFL respectfully dubbed the Minister of Defense by fans and professionals alike. Possessing a massive physique, overwhelming physical strength, and a deep religious faith, Reggie was like a solid rock mountain that could not be moved on the field. Any offensive player facing him had to be terrified of that seemingly endless source of power. Yet nature always harbors cruel paradoxes. A man who could easily throw down opponents, weighing hundreds of pounds, ultimately fell to an invisible tiny enemy creeping inside his own chest. Through the lens of medical analysis, the sudden death of Reggie White in 2004, when he was just 43 years old, was a massive shock that exposed human subjectivity in the face of silent diseases. Medical examinations revealed that he suffered from sarcoidosis, which devastated his respiratory system, combined with severe sleep apnea. I assess that Reggie's tragedy is precisely the tragedy of giants. Because they possess such incredibly robust bodies, they often ignore their own smallest signs of fatigue, mistakenly believing that willpower can overcome any biological depletion. By the time the respiratory system was completely exhausted, all efforts to save him had become hopeless. For older audiences, especially those who are the pillars of their families, Reggie White's passing carries an incredibly stern warning. Never overly rely on the health of your youth or a strong physique. No matter how powerful you are in the outside world, your internal body always needs to be listened to and cared for in the most delicate way. Reggie White lived fully as an immortal legend on the field, but his departure left behind a deeply sorrowful silence, reminding us that no amount of muscle mass can become an eternal shield against the harsh laws of nature. The sudden passing of the giant Reggie White shows just how fragile human life can be. But the shocks do not stop here. Right up next is the brutal tragedy of a legend who collapsed forever right in the middle of a game due to a ticking time bomb hidden deep within his body. What is that mystery? Please do not take your eyes off the screen. Missy Elliott. Missy Elliott is a one-of-a-kind phenomenon in the hip-hop and R&B music scene. Not only an outstanding rapper, singer, and music producer, she is also a pioneer in creating futuristic music videos with explosive dance routines and fashion styles ahead of their time. She possesses an energy source that seems never to run dry. However, in 2008, while standing at the pinnacle of fame, Missy Elliott suddenly evaporated from the entertainment industry. The reason behind that mysterious disappearance was the harsh attack of Graves' disease, an immune system disorder that causes the thyroid to become overactive, leading to nervous system exhaustion and muscle wasting. From the perspective of analyzing personal crisis management, Missy Elliott's decision to step back into seclusion was an incredibly brave and wise move. Graves' disease stripped her of the ability to control her body. There were times when she could not even hold a pen to write lyrics. Her heart rate was erratic, and her body was severely exhausted. I believe that for an artist who always appeared with a strong and perfect image, accepting to let the world forget her for a while was an extremely difficult decision. But Missy placed her own health and life above million-dollar contracts and the illusory halo of fame. For viewers who always value tranquility and the ability to self-heal, Missy Elliott's spectacular return after years of absence is a brilliant victory. She quietly underwent treatment, reestablishing balance for her body and mind. When she stepped onto the Super Bowl stage or accepted prestigious awards, she didn't just deliver a peak performance. She brought forth the image of a warrior who had defeated illness. Missy Elliott's story teaches us a profound lesson. Sometimes taking a step back is not a sign of weakness. Daring to stop and heal your own wounds is the most perfect preparation for a stronger and more enduring breakthrough in the future. Orlando Jones. Orlando Jones is an incredibly talented actor, writer, and comedian who brought countless laughs to American television audiences through Mad TV and various cinematic comedy films. With an energetic, witty acting style and a highly expressive face, Orlando was always the center of attention. Yet behind that never-ending positive energy was an agony lasting over a decade that no one understood. He suffered from celiac disease, a rare autoimmune condition causing the body to react violently, and refused to absorb gluten. The most ironic part is that this disease is extremely rarely diagnosed in African Americans, leading to a prolonged medical tragedy. From the perspective of analyzing healthcare inequality, Orlando Jones's story is a stern warning. For over 10 years, he endured severe physical exhaustion, uncontrollable weight loss, and digestive pain that tormented him every day. However, due to outdated medical prejudices, assuming that Black people don't get celiac disease, countless doctors misdiagnosed and mistreated him. I believe that the most terrifying loneliness is not when you are alone, But when you are crying out for help because your body is collapsing, yet the professionals do not believe you. Orlando had to grit his teeth and endure heart-wrenching pain all by himself, even while standing under the studio lights. For mature viewers who have faced chronic illnesses, Orlando Jones's journey to uncover the truth on his own carries immense inspirational power. Through perseverance and self-research, he finally received an accurate diagnosis, thereby completely changing his lifestyle and diet to win back his life. Orlando's story is not just a personal healing journey, but it is also a representative voice for patients forgotten by the medical system. He turned his pain into a costly lesson, reminding us of the importance of listening to our own bodies and bravely fighting for our own health. Karen Clark Sheard, in American gospel music. Karen Clark Sheard, a member of the great family group, the Clark Sisters, is a monumental figure with a powerful voice, capable of touching the deepest layers of human spirituality. The songs she sings always carry messages of healing hope and fierce faith in God's guidance. However, in 2001, this talented singer's faith was put to the most brutal life or death test. She was diagnosed with a complication from surgery that led to a deep coma. The medical team at the time assessed her chances of survival at a mere 2%, an almost hopeless probability. Let us analyze the intersection of modern medicine and the power of spiritual faith through Karen's case. When medical devices showed the faintest signs of life, and there was even a moment when her heart stopped beating, some invisible power refused to let her go. For those with faith, it was a miracle. But I assess that deep inside that body, submerged in a coma, was the fierce survival instinct of a mother and a wife who did not want to leave her family behind. The resilience of her immune system, combined with the dedicated efforts of the doctors and nurses, pulled her back from the fragile boundary of death. For our audience who always carry faith in good things, the miraculous recovery of Karen Clark Sheard brings a profoundly shocking message. Not only did she survive, but she also returned to the stage with a voice that was even more transcendent and deep than before. She used her near-death experience as the most living testimony for the gospel songs she performed. Karen's story affirms an eternal philosophy. When you face the darkest adversities that seem to have no way out, never give up hope. The light of life can always resurrect brilliantly from the deepest ends of the darkness. Tisha Campbell. Tisha Campbell is a familiar and deeply loved face on American television. Through her lifetime role in the sitcom Martin, she brought audiences the image of a radiant, smart, energetic Black woman with a smile that could light up any room. Along with her wonderful singing ability, Tisha seemed to possess a never-ending source of strength. But behind the camera lens, there was a reality that leaves everyone heartbroken. Just like her late co-star Bernie Mac, Tisha suffered from sarcoidosis, an extremely dangerous autoimmune disease that can damage respiratory organs and the cardiovascular system. From the perspective of analyzing invisible illnesses, Tisha Campbell's story is an epic saga about a woman's endurance. The harshness of this disease lies in the fact that on the outside the patient may look very healthy, but inside there is exhaustion, chest pains, and frequent oxygen deprivation. I believe that maintaining a cheerful comedic image and performing scenes that required immense physical exertion while her lungs were severely inflamed was an astonishing artistic sacrifice. Tisha did not allow the illness to strip away her smile or turn her into a weak person in the eyes of the public. For older audiences, especially women, Tisha Campbell is a symbol of resilience in overcoming adversity. Instead of giving up, she drastically changed her lifestyle, applying strict diets and exercise regimens to coexist with the flood. She uses her fame to raise public awareness about lesser-known autoimmune diseases. Tisha teaches us a valuable lesson. Not everyone who is smiling has an easy life. Sometimes the brightest smiles belong to the people who are silently carrying the most brutal medical burdens on their shoulders, bravely moving forward every single day. Lamar Odom. Lamar Odom was once a monument on the hardwood floor, possessing 2 prestigious NBA championship rings with the Los Angeles Lakers. With his towering height, versatile skills, and gentle smile, He was the idol of countless generations of sports-loving youth. Furthermore, his presence on reality television shows made his name known globally. But behind the flashing lights and the cheers of the crowd, Lamar carried deep psychological traumas from an unhappy childhood leading to terrible personal crises. That mental collapse indirectly pushed his body into a series of horrific medical complications, including highly dangerous progressive kidney failure. Let us analyze the fragile boundary between life and death through Lamar's historic incident in 2015. When he collapsed and fell into a deep coma with multiple consecutive strokes, doctors diagnosed that his kidney function was almost completely destroyed. Most media outlets at the time had already prepared their obituaries. However, I view this event as the most brutal wake-up call sent down by the universe to retain a lost soul. Having to face ventilators, painful dialysis sessions, and the process of relearning how to walk and talk from absolute zero tested the survival will of the former NBA champion to its absolute limits. For audiences who have weathered the storms of life, Lamar Odom's recovery journey is a tremendously inspiring story of redemption. He won the toughest match of a lifetime, the match to snatch his life back from the hands of death. Lamar's story proves a profound philosophy. No matter how far you fall into the dark abyss, no matter how severely your body is devastated, as long as your heart is still beating, you always have a chance to rebuild your life. He is no longer the superstar soaring on the basketball court, but he is a true warrior in the battle to protect his own life. Pharrell Williams. Pharrell Williams is one of the most influential artists, music producers, and fashion designers of the 21st century. With a creative mindset ahead of his time, he is the mastermind behind a series of global hits like Happy and Get Lucky, and is currently the men's creative director for Louis Vuitton. Pharrell's talent is undeniable by anyone. However, there is one thing that makes the public and even the scientific community use the word astonished when talking about him, and it is not his music, but his physical appearance. Despite having entered his 50s, Pharrell Williams still possesses a youthful face and aura that remains virtually unchanged from his 20-year-old self. Let us analyze the irony of public opinion and the power of rumors. Pharrell's absurd agelessness spawned countless thrilling theories on social media. Tabloids and sensational videos often wove stories that he suffered from a rare genetic disease, or even sold his soul to the devil in exchange for eternal youth. However, I assess that the public's obsession with Pharrell's appearance reflects a deep socio-psychological reality. We humans are too terrified of old age and are always longing to find a magic elixir rather than accepting the laws of nature. For mature audiences, Pharrell Williams' story is a costly lesson in how we view aging. Instead of believing in imaginary diseases, look at his actual lifestyle. Pharrell is someone who says no to stimulants, adheres to a strict diet practices, disciplined skincare, and most importantly, always maintains a spirit of endless curiosity and creativity. I believe that true youthfulness does not lie in wrinkle-free skin, but in a mind that is always brimming with positive energy. Pharrell Williams has proven a simple truth. The secret to youth is not a medical miracle, but the result of a journey of genuine artistic dedication combined with a healthy lifestyle that respects one's own body. Tevin Campbell. Tevin Campbell was once the golden boy of 90s R&B music, discovered and mentored by the legendary Quincy Jones. With a soaring, crystal clear, and deeply emotional voice in his mega hit Can We Talk, Tevin was expected to become the worthy successor to the king of pop, Michael Jackson. All of Hollywood opened its arms to welcome him. Yet right at the most brilliant peak of his career, when millions of fans were eagerly awaiting his next moves, that angelic voice suddenly stepped back and slowly faded from the media spotlight, leaving behind immense regret and conflicting rumors. Through the lens of analyzing the pressures of the entertainment industry, Tevin Campbell's story is a heartbreaking testament to the dark side of fame. The media at the time raised many suspicions that his health was severely declining, due to spinal meningitis, a dangerous disease that can directly affect the nervous system and vocal cords. Although the truth about his medical condition was rarely publicized in detail, I believe that Tevin's decision to walk away from the spotlight was a perfectly justified act of self-defense. When the body cries out for help in the face of exhausting schedules, stopping is not a failure, but a prioritization of one's life. For parents, Tevin Campbell's journey brings profound contemplation about the limits of fame. The entertainment industry is a massive machine, always ready to squeeze out young talents and discard them when their health is no longer guaranteed. By choosing a private life, staying away from drama and heavy pressures, Tevin saved his own soul and body. His story reminds us of a simple yet often forgotten truth. No musical record or prestigious award can ever be traded for peace of mind and complete health. Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor is a grand monument who redefined the entire landscape of stand-up comedy in America. With his sharpness, cutting words, and miraculous use of body language, he transformed the pains of racism and poverty into roaring laughter, delivering profound social dissection. Audiences adored him for his raw honesty. However, nature sometimes brings the most ironic scripts. In 1986, the man with that explosive energy was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disease that ravages the central nervous system, slowly robbing the ability to control muscles and voice. Let us analyze the cruelty of this adversity from a psychological perspective. For a comedian, voice, facial expressions, and agile movements on stage are their sole weapons for survival. Having to watch one's body slowly freeze up, legs unable to walk, and a once highly articulate voice become a stutter is a horrific mental torture. However, I highly admire Richard Pryor's magnificent pride. Instead of hiding, he brought his own illness onto the stage, turned his wheelchair into a prop, and used laughter to satirize the harshness of his fate. For our older audience who always value bravery, Richard Pryor's legacy carries immeasurable weight. He lived with this disease for nearly 20 years until he passed away in 2005. Richard did not let his illness turn him into a pitiable victim. He taught the world a profound philosophical lesson. The greatest strength of a human being does not lie in a flawless, perfect body, but in a sharp mind and an indomitable spirit, even when imprisoned within one's own physical form. Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman was not just a talented actor. He was a monumental cultural icon of the 21st century. By brilliantly portraying King T'Challa in the blockbuster Black Panther, he brought the global Black community, a true hero, an unparalleled source of pride on the silver screen. His roles always depicted resilient, highly dignified figures. Yet the world was stunned to realize that this superhero was not only brave on film. Behind his warm smile and poised demeanor at red carpet events, Chadwick was fighting a life-or-death battle in real life all by himself. Stage 4, colon cancer. From the perspective of analyzing the philosophy of human life, the way Chadwick Boseman faced death was the pinnacle of greatness and self-respect. For 4 grueling years, amidst exhausting chemotherapy sessions and major surgeries, he silently went to film sets, exceptionally completing roles that required extremely high physical intensity without a single word of complaint. I believe that his silence was not hiding a weakness, but an incredibly noble sacrifice. He did not want public pity to overshadow the meaningful messages of his films. He wanted to channel his last remaining ounce of vitality into creating a legacy, an endless source of inspiration for younger generations of color who needed a role model to follow. The passing of Chadwick Boseman in 2020 at the age of 43 left an unfillable void in the hearts of global audiences. For mature individuals, his life is the perfect definition of the word responsibility. Even knowing his time was counted in days, he did not choose to rest but chose to dedicate himself until he took his last breath. Chadwick Boseman proved that a true superhero does not need superpowers or a bulletproof suit. The greatest superpower of a human being is courage. The steadfastness to protect one's dignity and the desire to leave behind good values for the world before returning to dust. Nyakim Gatwech. In the glamorous world of fashion, where beauty standards are often rigidly stereotyped, Nyakim Gatwech emerged as an unprecedented phenomenon. Carrying the proud blood of South Sudan, she possesses a deeply dark, glowing, and breathtakingly beautiful skin tone, to the point where international media respectfully dubbed her the Queen of the Dark. However, before striding powerfully down the world's most prestigious runways, Nyakim had to endure a childhood full of tears, becoming a victim of discrimination and the most baseless, nonsensical medical rumors from the tabloid press. Let us analyze the cruelty of colorism and the ignorance of public opinion, because she possesses an outstanding amount of natural melanin compared to standard norms. Many malicious individuals and sensational videos wove stories that she suffered from a strange disease called hypermelanosis. This distortion is cruel in that it turns a proud genetic trait of an ethnicity into a pathogen that needs to be cured. I believe that Nyakim's greatest pain during her youth was not her skin color, but having to live in a society that constantly humiliated her, calling her a monster and even urging her to bleach her skin. Verbal abuse once pushed the young girl to the brink of depression. For mature audiences who always uphold the original value of human beings, Nyakim Gatwech's journey of rising up is a brilliant manifesto of self-esteem. Instead of surrendering and trying to change herself to please the crowd, she used the very skin that was once despised as a weapon to shatter all prejudices. She refused to be seen as a medical case or an anomaly. Nyakim proved a profound philosophy. The greatest strength of a human being is the ability to love and proudly embrace one's own originality. True beauty never has a fixed mold. It shines brightest when we dare to stand tall, take pride in our roots, and do not allow anyone to define our worth through the lens of prejudice. Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, is the standard definition of greatness in art. His magical moonwalk steps, his mega hits, like Thriller or Billie Jean, broke down all racial barriers, elevating black music to the absolute pinnacle of the world. However, accompanying his unprecedented fame was one of the greatest misunderstood tragedies in modern media history. Starting in the 1980s, Michael's skin gradually lost its dark pigment and turned pale white. Instead of seeking the truth, the tabloid press created a wave of vicious attacks, accusing him of bleaching his skin because he rejected his black roots. Let us analyze the destructive power of the media and cyberbullying. The truth is that Michael Jackson suffered from a severe case of vitiligo plus lupus erythematosus, which caused his immune system to destroy his own skin pigmentation. Having to use depigmentation therapies was the only medical option to even out his patchy skin tone. I assessed that the physical pain caused by the disease, which made his skin extremely sensitive to sunlight, could not compare to the grievance in his soul. An artist who always sang about love and racial equality, black or white, was mocked and judged by his own community and the media for a physical change that he absolutely did not desire. That isolation and pressure pushed him into deep mental crises. For older audiences who lived through Michael's golden era, his story leaves behind boundless regret. It wasn't until his sudden passing in 2009 and the release of the autopsy results that the world stunningly realized the truth and owed him a belated apology. Michael Jackson taught humanity a bitter lesson about judgment. Never judge a person when you have not truly walked in their shoes. Despite having to bear the ultimate injustices from a rare disease, the musical legacy and humanity of the king will forever remain immortal stars in the artistic sky. Gary Coleman. In the golden era of American television in the 80s, everyone knew Gary Coleman. The boy with the chubby cheeks, radiant smile, and the classic catchphrase, "What you talking about, Willis?" from the show. Different Strokes became a pop culture phenomenon, earning him the highest salary in history for a child star at the time. However, behind the adorableness that drove millions of viewers crazy was an incredibly harsh medical tragedy. Gary was born with a congenital kidney disease, which permanently halted his physical development. For his entire life, Gary was locked at the height of a boy, just over 4 feet 7 inches tall, even as the years went by. Let us analyze the cruelty of the Hollywood entertainment industry through this story. Hollywood exhausted his labor and commercialized Gary's illness. They loved him when he was a cute child, but when the show ended, society refused to accept an adult man trapped in a child's body. I believe that Gary Coleman's greatest pain did not come from risky kidney transplant surgeries or prolonged dialysis sessions. It came from the public's rejection and the betrayal of his own family when his fortune was drained to the point of bankruptcy. He was stuck between two worlds, unable to grow up physically, yet his soul bore all the scars of an adult. For audiences who grew up alongside Gary's roles, his end in 2010 at the age of 42 truly leaves a bitter sorrow. He lived a life constantly bracing himself to make others happy, but rarely received true empathy for his own struggles. Gary Coleman's story is an indictment of the dark side of fame, reminding us of the fragile line between adulation and oblivion. He deserves to be remembered not just as a childhood comedy icon, but as a resilient human being who struggled to survive in a world far too harsh on those with physical differences. Tionne T-Boz Watkins. Tionne Watkins, known more to the world by her stage name, T-Boz, is the lead vocalist bearing the signature raspy tone of TLC, the most successful female group in 90s American music history. With iconic hits like Waterfalls or No Scrubs, T-Boz emerged as a queen of edginess, confidence, and abundant energy. Yet behind the masterful dance moves, an incredibly cool demeanor on stage. She carries sickle cell disease. This is a cruel inherited blood disorder that causes episodes of severe physical debilitation and was widely predicted by the medical community at the time to claim patients' lives before the age of 30. Let us analyze the horrifying psychological pressure of having to live with a countdown clock. For a normal person, knowing one's lifespan in advance is an obsession that can break any willpower. But I assess that T-Boz turned that very death sentence into a catalyst for her career. Knowing her time was limited urged her to work twice as hard, dedicate 3 times as much to leave behind the most brilliant musical legacy before closing her eyes. The peak of her resilience was when she defied life-threatening warnings from doctors to get pregnant and give birth. She placed her maternal instinct and desire to sustain life above her own safety. For older audiences who always cherish family values, T-Boz's journey is a true miracle of medicine and willpower. Today, she has passed the age of 50, shattering all the most pessimistic predictions of professionals from years past. Tionne Watkins' story is an epic praising the power of faith. She proved to the whole world that no page of a medical record has the right to dictate your fate. Through a love for art and sacred maternal love, humans are completely capable of rewriting the final chapter of their own lives. Winnie Harlow. Winnie Harlow is currently one of the most sought-after international supermodels, the face of a series of the world's most luxurious brands. However, her path to the fashion runway was not paved with roses, but built from childhood years full of tears and deep psychological trauma. Winnie suffers from vitiligo, an autoimmune disorder that destroys skin pigment cells, creating patchy white areas on the body. For a young black girl, this abnormal change in skin color turned her into a target for malicious teasing and derogatory pointing from her peers. Through the lens of analyzing beauty standards and social psychology, Winnie's story is a journey of unprecedented transformation. In a fashion industry that has always worshipped perfection, and stereotypical golden ratios, uneven skin was once considered a fatal flaw. However, I highly admire Winnie's extraordinary bravery. Instead of feeling insecure, hiding, or seeking a hopeless cure, she decided to redefine the concept of beauty. She bravely flaunted her skin in front of the camera, turning the very patches of color that once made her cry in secret into a unique masterpiece of art bestowed by nature. For you, the audience, watching Winnie Harlow's journey from a bullied little girl to a catwalk queen is an intense source of life inspiration. Although vitiligo does not directly threaten one's life, it can kill a person's confidence and hope. Winnie proved that the greatest strength does not come from trying to be like everyone else, but from proudly embracing your own flaws. She conquered the disease not with medicine, but with self-respect. Winnie's skin is now a symbol of breaking the mold, reminding the world that being different is the true pinnacle of beauty. Hank Gathers. Hank Gathers was a phenomenon in American college basketball in the late 1980s. With a superior physique, terrifying speed, and the scoring ability of a machine, Hank was expected to become one of the greatest superstars of the NBA. The basketball court was not just a place to showcase his talent, but his only ticket to pull his family out of the impoverished slums of Philadelphia. Yet fate is sometimes far too ironic. Right at the peak of his physical prime, when all the glory awaited him, Hank was diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a condition that causes the heart muscle to thicken abnormally, which can cause sudden death at any time during strenuous exertion. Let us analyze the suffocating internal struggle of an elite athlete. To protect his life, the doctor required Hank to take medication to lower his heart rate. But for a scoring machine, the side effects of the medication made him sluggish, sapped his strength, and robbed him of his competitive edge. I believe that Hank's decision to self-reduce his medication dosage was not the impulsiveness of youth, but an epically tragic trade-off. He faced two choices: live a safe life but give up the dream of saving his entire family, or gamble his life for his most brilliant moments on the court. And Hank chose to dedicate the very beat of his heart entirely to the orange ball. The event of Hank Gathers collapsing forever right in the middle of a game in March 1990 is one of the most haunting moments in sports history. At the age of 23, the young man used his own life to prove his utmost passion. For mature audiences, Hank's story brings an ultimate sense of sorrow, but also deep respect. He flew up to execute a beautiful slam dunk, only to never stand up again. Hank Gathers taught us about the cost of dreams. There are people born to burn brightly like a shooting star. Even if they only flash for a moment, it is enough to leave a mark that will never fade in the minds of those left behind. Charlie Murphy. Charlie Murphy, the older brother of the legendary Eddie Murphy, was an outstanding comedic talent and a U.S. Navy veteran. Contrary to the animated style of his younger brother, Charlie possessed a subtle charm, a calm demeanor, and an incredibly rugged, battle-tested exterior. The real-life stories he recounted on television always carried an intense magnetic pull. However, behind the strong armor of a soldier, his body had to face one of the most ruthless and unpredictable enemies: acute myeloid leukemia, AMLA, highly rapid progressing blood cancer. Analyzed from the psychological perspective of a proud man, the way Charlie Murphy faced his illness forces anyone to bow their head in admiration. Blood cancer doesn't just drain vitality, it also ravages a patient's appearance and spirit through harsh chemotherapy. However, I highly appreciate his choice to keep his condition a secret. For someone used to protecting others like Charlie, he did not want his final days to become a topic of gossip or attract media pity. He silently endured bone-deep aches, kept his smile, and continued to work and tour until his strength was entirely depleted. For you, the audience who has witnessed the brutality of life and death, the passing of Charlie Murphy in the spring of 2017 was a massive shock. Just a few months after discovering the disease, he quietly took his last breath. No drama, no complaining about fate. Charlie's story is an epic song about a man's dignity. It reminds us that true strength does not lie in muscles or glorious feats, but in how we face the greatest adversities of human life. Charlie Murphy departed with his head held high like a soldier, leaving behind a profound artistic legacy and a shining example of dignity and silence. Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac was one of the most outstanding comedians in America, possessing a charming, bold storytelling style and hearty laughs that could dispel any sorrow. Audiences loved him through the hit The Bernie Mac Show, where he brought positive energy to millions of families. Yet behind the tens of thousands of smiles he bestowed upon the world, Bernie himself was silently enduring the devastation of sarcoidosis, a rare autoimmune disease that causes the immune system to attack internal organs, especially the lungs. The most heartbreaking part is that this disease often has very complex developments in African Americans. Let us reflect on the cruel paradox of those whose mission is to bring joy. To stand on a comedy stage, an artist needs abundant physical stamina and a steady breathing rhythm to deliver words and control the crowd. However, the granuloma disease ruthlessly robbed Bernie of that very precious flow of oxygen. I assess that every single one of his performances was a true battle between will and body, while the audience was laughing hysterically. Inside his chest were agonizing cramps, energy depletion, and a feeling of suffocation. Even so, he never let his cough interrupt the public's laughter. He hid his illness because he didn't want anyone to pity him. For mature audiences, Bernie Mac's dedication carries a profoundly deep humanistic value. He fought this disease for over 2 decades with the most optimistic and proud attitude towards life. By 2008, when his body no longer had the strength to fight, and he gently departed this world at the age of 50, the world stunningly realized his greatness. Bernie Mac taught us a poignant lesson. The joy we receive is sometimes traded for the most deeply hidden pains of others. Though his respiratory system failed, his legacy of laughter and his spirit of total dedication will forever breathe rhythmically in the hearts of audiences. Danny Glover. Danny Glover is a true cinematic monument, a name tied to the classic action movie franchise Lethal Weapon. On screen, he always appears as a brave, tough man who never backs down from danger. However, few people know that before becoming a Hollywood hero, Danny had to endure a childhood haunted by an invisible enemy more terrifying than any villain: epilepsy. In the 1950s, medicine had not truly advanced, and for a young black boy to have this condition often came with a great deal of stigma and fearful stares from society. From a psychological perspective, having to live with a disease that could strike at any moment is a massive mental burden. Seizures could strip a teenager of their dignity right in the middle of a crowd, causing friends to distance themselves and teachers to be confused. However, I believe that this very harsh circumstance forged a Danny Glover with an iron will. Instead of surrendering to fate, he learned how to listen to his own body. Through extraordinary effort, he trained his focus and regulated his breathing to stay calm whenever he felt the signs of a coming episode. That stillness of mind is not something just anyone can achieve. For older audiences, Danny Glover's story is a wonderful testament to the power of human willpower. Like a rare medical miracle, as he entered adulthood, his symptoms miraculously began to disappear. Although the rate of spontaneous recovery is extremely small, his relentless efforts were rewarded. Danny Glover did not let the disease define his life. Rising above fear and the prejudices of the era, he stepped out from the shadows of his childhood to confidently shine under the brilliant lights of the cinematic capital, leaving behind an artistic legacy and a great lesson in resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, the 25 stories we have just walked through are not merely sad memoirs about illness. They are truly 25 epic anthems honoring the fierce human will to survive. These great black icons have taught us a truth. Health is a priceless gift that cannot be bought by any amount of wealth or fame. And no matter how cruel the adversities fate may hand down, how proudly we face them and continue to spread love is the true measure of the greatness of a human life. Thank you for taking the time to listen and reflect with us. We wish you always an abundance of health and peaceful, warm moments with your beloved family. If you found that this video brought deep value, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to continue accompanying us. Goodbye, and we will see you again in the next videos.